Zack Snyder's what you get when you give the edgy teenager in your English class millions of dollars to explore his homoerotic feelings, and instead he gives you a manifesto on superhero dick jokes. Dr. Manhattan's full cock is on display to show us how flaccid of a god he is. And it's all in service of ultimately missing Moore's points about male power fantasies and the copification of our new pantheon of Greek gods. Snyder would rather spend his time licking people's abs rather than explore why he's so obsessed with essay. The HBO series has a Dr. Manhattan-sized height difference over this overly long, tonally confused, edgelord-laced, needle-dropping, montage-obsessed mess. It's day 43 of the Ticket Stub Movie Club. Today's movie, Watchmen. It's directed by Zack Snyder and stars Patrick Wilson, Malin Ackerman, Jackie Earle Haley, Billy Crudup, Carla Gugino, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I had not watched this movie since the theater. The reason I hadn't is because I've been on a long, slow warpath against Zack Snyder. I will give compliments at the top here, and I think credit where credit is due. Zack Snyder is a next-level visualist. His ability to visualize things from comic book onto screen, from his own imagination onto screen, honestly, is second to almost none. I think he makes some of the best looking superhero stuff you could ever see. Man of Steel might be a little too grayscale, but it is the closest thing to Super Saiyan level battles that we've ever seen in a movie. His Rebel Moon series absolutely fucks against Star Wars. Star Wars could not hold a candle to the way that he can visualize its own source material. And it takes lesser filmmakers degrading his work to make it look bad. Look at Justice League versus Justice League. Those are two absolutely different visual representations of the same material. I will give the man his credit. He can do visuals. On the other hand, he cannot write to save his fucking life. Not only can he not write, but his media knowledge, his media literacy are so high school level that he really thinks he is doing justice to material that is already dissecting. Watchmen, the novel, was on its face a dissection of the superhero genre. And then Zack Snyder thought he could dissect a dissection as if that's going to present us with anything new or anything interesting, and in fact makes everything more immature, more sloppy, so much so that it's affecting my ability to speak English, because what is more sloppy? Sloppier. I don't even fucking know. I was too mean to the spirit when I said that its narration was silly. This is silly narration. First of all, at least 4 different characters get narration within the movie. That's tonally kind of crazy to do. But you know what? I let people do crazy in their movies all the time, if the narration actually made sense. I think Snyder should be embarrassed that within the same sentence that he gives Rorschach, he compares gay people to pedophiles. Now, in the source material, Moore knows that Rorschach is a right-wing Republican hack, and the point of his death is to point and laugh. Ha 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 ha. Snyder's missed that entirely, and instead presents this character as cool as he possibly can, making the narration as self-obsessed and absorbed as he possibly can, to make points that are borderline nonsensical and he should truly be ashamed of. You can see the beginnings of his Ayn Randian ideals coming out, where survival of the fittest and the top and why help anybody else is on full display here. And he hates superheroes. He hates superheroes. I literally had to pause the movie and laugh out loud to myself when Rorschach, a very mentally disturbed person, points out that the rest of the people are mentally disturbed around him. And the movie does not go out of its way to point and laugh at that. Instead, the laughs come from ideas of Owlman not being able to get it up unless he's inflicted violence on others. Or our Superman, our Dr. Manhattan is basically the detached vibrator of a demigod. He's enfeebled to do good, empowered to dispatch absolute moral evil onto others, and then can't even call his own morality into question because he's beyond humans. The movie struggles to give him any humanity, and I also forgot how ugly the effects are, how absolutely blown out sometimes these effects can become for his glow. The Watchmen series visualized this even better than the Master Visualist. Dr. Manhattan is a passenger in his own story, stripped literally naked instead of metaphorically. Wow, you're just so fucking on the nose there, Zachy boy. It's always funny to me to watch a creator act as if they are clever and then totally miss the mark entirely. I watched the director's cut for this version because I know the Snyder fans are going to be in the comments, well, you didn't watch his actual version of it. Listen, I've watched the director's cut of BVS. I've watched the director's cut of Watchmen. I've watched any director's cut this man is willing to put out, including the Rebel Moon ones. He's not good at creating a plot. Tell me why the second Rebel Moon is 3 hours long and 3 things happen in it total. It is the second act of a series drawn out over 3 hours with nothing but farming montages. And all of this stuff is not stuff I would begrudge individually on its own. A movie like this will go out of its way to condemn communism at every single turn, and the capitalist world that it is presenting is a dystopian nightmare that it still deeply believes in saving. What the fuck are we talking about here? Oh, you really stanced up by saying you were anti-Nixon in this movie, Zach. You really took a moral position against Watergate, guy. And then there's stuff in this that I truly can't even get into talking about without risking demonetizing this video. SA is front and center within this story because Zack worships it. Go look up what he wants to do to Batman in his dream version of a Batman story. He's not telling anything worth telling in that version other than making Batman more able to get vengeance, I guess. Again, that is the ramblings of a 17-year-old who is not able to understand his world and instead wants to go to war against it. Every character in this story is evil, but also worshipped as being cool. These aren't ideas that can't be together, but instead they're incongruous with each other and fighting for the attention. Is the comedian deep and sad, or is he super fucking cool, man? Like, it's weird for a movie to ask me to feel bad for a guy that I just witnessed murder a pregnant woman in front of a god who chose to do nothing about it. And then he can point out that the god did nothing about it, and that's as far as the movie's willing to explore it. I will admit, in the director's cut, they've added in the animated sequences for the Black Ship. I think that is really cool. That is an awesome addition of visualization. I believe it was Gerard Butler doing the voice for that too, which makes sense because of the 300. But by the time we get to the end of this mess, he's totally veered away from the novel ending because he didn't get it. Truly, because he just straight up didn't get it. He positions Rorschach, our racist, xenophobic, homophobic, transphobic, all of the phobic person, as our sacrificial lamb to be killed by our ultimate good god superhero character in front of the evil capitalist who is doing all this to usher in the world that we deserve. And the movie's issues with communism. It would be one thing if I knew that Snyder were secretly a genius and making this movie to make fun of his own fans. But he loves his cult. He loves the Zack Snyder cult. So he's not making this to make fun of them. He makes this kind of stuff to cement their ideas as being correct in their minds. Don't argue with a Snyder fan about anything. Even if you're willing to give them an inch, they will never give you the media literacy that you might have over them to explain why Man of Steel really didn't need to have Superman kill anybody if that's only going to happen at the end of the movie and has given us no clues up to that point that it was going to happen. You can make your movie about that thing, but you gotta stand 10 toes down on business to do that. Just inserting it to be edgy, fuck you. And let me remind you, 2009 is the peak of edgelord humor. YouTubers that made videos during this time will be canceled over the next coming decade because they're all just shitty people showing you their inner shittiness. That's all being an edgelord is. There's no depth to it, and all it can do is begrudge its own source material because it refuses to understand it. And then fans of this one, the immature ones that don't get that this is kind of a mockery of its source material, will then go and mock the HBO series, which is willing to talk about things like the Tulsa Massacre, something I'm sure Zack Snyder didn't even fucking know existed until someone else adapted more of this material to screen. That's a show that's fucking about something. In so much as they're even willing to recast the role of Dr. Manhattan into a different race to make a different point. Jeremy Irons also absolutely bodies the Ozymandias role versus our lead in this, who is probably one of the most boring on-screen villains that you could ever have. Yeah, he gets a cool fucking action sequence or two, but what the fuck is that in service of if your performance is going to be so flat that he's closer to the godhood that our actual demigod character ascribes to be? Or doesn't ascribe to be. The movie can't really make up its mind if this guy is the way that he is or if it's just people's projections of him. I'd love for you to make a fucking point at some point, Zach. At some goddamn point, can you please walk me up to what you're trying to say? I'm getting some venom out here. I'm getting some vitriol out here. The next run of, I think, 8 movies are good to decent to excellent. So I'm excited for that. I don't think our next superhero movie is until X-Men Origins Wolverine, which I will be incredibly nicer to that one, even though it is objectively probably a worse movie in its construction, in its execution, and in its writing. Zack Snyder, on the other hand, gets the dad line from me. I'm not just angry. I'm fucking disappointed. Someone with this level of ability should be able to tell better stories. And it leads me to my final point, the point of Chris Nolan versus Zack Snyder, because these two are people that have worked together a lot in the past, and it makes sense that Nolan is often more beloved, and it's because he works with a writer. Some directors can do the writer-director duo. Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez, there are a lot of these guys out there that can do both roles because they have a core vision and they have media literacy. I've said on many podcasts in the past, Zack Snyder is someone that would benefit from having a really skilled writer along with him that he could visualize these stories. But he's not willing to do that because his contentions are to make an Ayn Randian version of anything that he comes across. It's core to his personal philosophy. And if you read Rand's books, you will understand why his characters end up being so flat, so flaccid, so disengaged, so inhuman, because that is the ideology behind this. Why give a fuck about someone that's addicted to drugs if you're not willing to figure out what puts a person in that position? Why give a fuck about the copification of superheroes if you worship the idea of cops and just condemn the bad ones? If you Google 40% cops, you will find out that 40% of them are known abusers. If their cohorts are willing to do nothing to take down the injustice of that, then they are also guilty by association. That's how we get to ACAB. It is 1 + 1 is 2. I'm sorry, Zach, if you can't follow that, maybe you're not smart enough to adapt material from people who are thinking deeply about their world. Look at that timestamp. I've been ranting for too long. Let me cut this off. Our next movie is a much more enjoyable superhero team-up, Monsters vs. Aliens. I'm really excited to jump into this one because this is also another beautifully visualized piece of media. I know the jokes are still going to hit in 2025. I'm really looking forward to talking about something that's animated with a lot of heart. And not that I believe a Snyder fan could actually watch a video like this far into it and follow any of my points. If you did make it this far and you still feel the need to comment, just know I'm going to make a mockery of you. I'm going to video reply to your comments and just point and laugh at the fact that you could actually open the Watchmen book, read it, and then watch that movie and think that these things are anything like each other. My full reviews come out over on my Patreon early, so go over there and support this journey with me. We can talk way more in depth away from the Snyder fans because I know they're not willing to buy into this to talk to me over there. They also go to YouTube and TikTok in their full versions, so you can check them out the next day when they come out. I stream my edits on Twitch and TikTok, so if you want to talk to me live, we can check it out there. If you get shitty in those comments, I will block you. I'm not scared, and I don't give a shit what you think about it. That's going to do it for Watchmen. I will see you tomorrow.